They say you can tell a lot about a workplace by its break room. Somewhere, tucked between lab equipment and grant proposals, mine had a secondhand coffee maker humming away on the counter. Small, worn, and a bit unreliable. But for me, it was a lifeline, a ritual, a quiet rebellion in a world that demanded endless output with little warmth. I'm wrapping up my 5th year in a PhD program in STEM. 5 years of grueling work, of sleepless nights and caffeine-fueled sprints toward deadlines, of carving out a place for myself in a field that's equal parts brilliance and burnout. And through it all, that little coffee machine sat on a table in the corner, unnoticed by most. Because for the first 3 years, I was the only one who used it. Everyone else on my team drank tea or soda. No judgment. Except when it came to productivity, coffee was my weapon of choice. I owned a few machines, honestly. A nice one at home. A couple of thrift store backups, just in case. One of those backups came to work with me. I set it up quietly, no announcements. I just needed a way to get through the day. Then came Anne. She joined the team in my 4th year. Postdoctoral associate. Older than me by about 10 years. Smart. Friendly. The kind of person you'd take a walk with on your lunch break. But working with her was a different story. She had a way of making me feel small, even when I knew I was right. Her PhD gave her a kind of authority, one she wore like armor. If I brought up a concern or suggested a change, she brushed it off. Always right, always certain. I had more hands-on experience in our specific field, but that didn't seem to matter. And she talked, constantly, about everything. About dishwashers, about weekend plans, about someone's haircut, or the plot of a show I'd never seen. I'd tell her I was busy, politely, firmly. But she'd linger at my desk anyway, waiting for me to break. Sometimes I moved to a hybrid schedule just to get some peace, to feel like I could breathe without her hovering. I didn't hate her. She wasn't cruel, but she made it hard to think, hard to focus, hard to feel like I belonged in the space I'd spent years building for myself. And then, without asking, she started using the coffee maker. At first, I didn't mind. It was kind of nice, honestly, not being the only coffee drinker anymore. Anne would pour herself a cup or brew a fresh pot, and she always seemed a little more energized afterward. But then she told me something that stopped me cold. She'd stopped making coffee at home because she knew she could make it at work. She looked me in the eye, smiling, and said, "Why bother at home when I've got you?" It was meant to be light, maybe even grateful, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. Suddenly, I wasn't just a fellow researcher. I was her caffeine supplier, the woman who never listened, never respected my work, never gave me space, was depending on me for her daily fix. And now, I'm leaving. I've defended my dissertation. I'm moving into medical research. New city, new job, new everything. My next workplace has free coffee for employees, so technically, I don't need to bring a coffee maker. And yet, here I am, standing in a break room, staring at this clunky little machine and wondering what the hell I'm supposed to do with it. It's mine. I bought it. It came from my house. I've let people use it for years, but I never donated it. And Anne never asked if she could keep it. So the question begins to creep into my mind. Would I be the asshole if I took it with me? At first, it sounds petty. I get that. It's just a coffee machine, a cheap one. I have better ones. I don't need it. But then again, Anne hasn't exactly been a beacon of grace and generosity either. She's made this space harder for me, She's interrupted my flow, dismissed my ideas, and claimed a casual kind of dominance over the environment I worked so hard to maintain. So maybe this is about more than a machine. Maybe it's about drawing a line, saying, "No, you don't get to take what's mine." But then again, what does that accomplish? I could box it up, take it home, and stick it in a cabinet. Let it gather dust as a trophy for one final act of quiet revenge. Or I could leave it here, where it'll continue to serve someone who depends on it, whether I like her or not. In a world full of complicated people, Anne is just another one of them. She's not malicious. She's just unaware. She sees herself as warm and collegial. She doesn't realize how she steamrolls conversations or invades space. She doesn't know how much I've held back in order to keep the peace. If I leave the coffee maker, she'll probably never even know it was mine to begin with. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's better that way. Maybe this isn't about being right. Maybe it's about being free. Because let's be honest, I've outgrown this place. And while I could take every scrap of myself with me just to prove a point, maybe the stronger move is to walk away with grace. Maybe the most powerful thing I can do is let go of the small battles and focus on what's next. I decided to leave the machine, not because she deserves it, but because I don't need it. Not anymore. So, am I the asshole? Or just someone learning when to hold on and when to let go? It's wild how a $20 coffee maker can become the centerpiece of a 5-year journey, isn't it? But that's how life works. It's never just about the object. It's about everything it represents. The time, the space, the boundaries, the moments we felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated. It's about control, about kindness, about finding meaning in the small choices. What I love about this story is the honesty, the raw, unfiltered truth of navigating adulthood, ambition, and petty emotions in a professional world that's often anything but professional. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel satisfying in the moment. Sometimes we want to be petty, and sometimes we even have the right to be. But being right doesn't always mean we win. Leaving that coffee maker behind, that was power. Not because it punished or rewarded anyone, but because it freed the storyteller from the need to prove anything. So now I ask you, what would you have done? Would you have taken it? Would you have left it? Have you ever had a moment where a small act became a symbol of something much bigger? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever left behind a piece of yourself, not because you had to, but because you chose to, you're not alone. You're growing. You're healing. And sometimes, that's the real win. This has been AITA Stories. Thanks for listening.